So welcome back on my channel LightWave Guru. Rodney, my friend, you have some questions, and I think the best way to show you in what way you do it is to show it you quickly. So that means that scene that I show there and you comment, yeah, that's that construction form scene, would be later published on LightWave Digital as a tutorial, and also the scene, then you can play with it. So if your question is something with a little less porosity, might be perfect for explosive putty, like the spray-on plastic explosives that's moving and so on. It's simple possible. And then your next question was just for clarification, because I've actually had any time to play with it all. Is it the only method of smoothing? No, is it not? You can also use the relax factor of the particles to change the surface. Yeah. So let us go quickly in that scene so that I show it a little bit for the community, that anybody can see it. So if you, for example, if we use here now, here's a preview, yeah, and we have all the parameters, and you put it on the wall, and the simple reason is it works. There's no gravity in the scene, yeah, so the gravity is off, and you have for the simulation a high value for adhesion and friction and viscosity. Then you build that kind or type of fluid, okay? So, and if you later would bake it, so I reset it here, let us bake it quickly, yeah? And you see that it have a raw surface here, then it's a reason that it's what I want. Yeah, so I need a little bit structure for that construction form. So that's the reason there's no smoothing in the game under the filter, if you see it here. Yeah, so the Gaussian filter and so is off. It's all off. It's only the erode filter active in the moment. So let us reset that baking. So if I activate now here the Gaussian filter with one step, yeah, for example, then you can see in what way it then look. Then it look much more smooth, yeah. So if you want to build a fluid like that plastic pang, yeah, that plastic boom thing, then you can smooth it in that way, for example. A second thing that play a role is that the particle comes out with a specific speed, yeah, and so no gravity influence that particles, only the speed from the gun here influence in what way or came the particles out of the gun, yeah, and that adhesion and dynamic friction and so on, and also the viscosity and cohesion here steer then the way the particle can go, yeah. And that means if you go down here with the speed, then the particle would not go so wide out. And the next is that relax factor. That's here 1, yeah. So if I say, for example, here, okay, the relax factor is 0, then every particle that see another particle will not push them out of the way, so that the particles are in the smaller area if you simulate it, yeah. For example, here you can see it, then you do it in another way. So if you make the relax factor higher, then the particles react in another way, yeah, and spread it more out and make another structure. And that's it's a little bit for fine-tuning here, that relax factor. And also you have to give a little bit attention to the more simulation options. You see there that I have here minimum damping, a little bit dissipation, and the static friction, and also the fluid rest distance. And if you change that fluid rest distance, this also influence the size from your particle gun. So for example, if we use now here parameter from 0.6, yeah, and we started new, you see that the particle gun is much more little. And if we then bake it, for example, with Gaussian filter, you become a very clear line, yeah. So you can influence in 1,000 ways that what then comes out, and you would have in the end as LightWave object sequence to work with it. Yeah. So if you want to build fluids that are more sticky, or fluids that are have a high viscosity and so on, you can all do that and give them a finish, a specific finish with that filters. Yeah. For example, if you use that let us go back here to 8.5, so that's my original here, and you say here, for example, for the Gaussian filter, make it not one time, make it 2 times, for example, then you will smooth it much more as with step 1. Yeah. So you see it. You have in the end, if you want a very smooth, clear surface. So that's the same if you build things like for tooth that cream. Yeah. So in German Zahnpasta, yeah, or something like that. That's all possible. It's only a question in what way you build it. Yeah. And if you want that react to gravity, for example, so that you want that if that particles are, if you cluster, have more weight as the adhesion can hold, then give him a little bit, for example, gravity. Yeah. For example, we started with 0 gravity for the first 100 frames. So here, with 100 frames, the gravity is null. And then you say, okay, and now I need on frame 300, so only for example, yeah, give him a value from 9.8, you would see what's then happen, and yeah, then the gravity would be activated and comes in the game, and then something like that is happen. So we have for the first 100 frames then that it stick 100% on the wall, yeah, if you want that, for example, and then the gravity begins to work, and you can see then what gravity factor is enough to suck that paste or the cream down. So we see it here. 150 was, that begins. Let us take a look what's happened on 150. So there the gravity is -2, yeah? And then in that way it works if you would want animate the gravity over time. Yeah. So let us simulate it a little bit longer. Then we can see it one more time and what it do then. And for that little things of or yeah, simple simulations, you can directly show it in the baked mode. Yeah, so the computer is fast enough for that, and that you can see what he does. Yeah, so you can also animate it that it stick on the wall and have in the same time the typical effects. Yeah, that it drops then down if the gravity is so high or the mass from the particles are too high. Yeah, so if you want that it go down in easy way and not so fast, then say here, for example, give me a value from -10 for gravity. Then let us simulate it one more time, and with that principle you can also build sticky fluids, or fluids with adhesion that that can react with gravity and make then the typical things what that kinds of fluid do. Yeah, that you run very slow then from A to B. Yeah, with that little gravity, and that's really funny to build. Yeah, if you make something like that, you see it now. The gravity began now to suck on that particles, and then something from them drop down and other not. Yeah, it's only a question of viscosity, adhesion, and in what high or what volume has the gravity. Yeah, and you see it here. So you can build for real with fLOW any type of fluid. That's really funny. And the thing is that I must use or would use fLOW to simulate water or something like that, but you can really build every type of fluid. Yeah, from construction foam to toothpaste or tooth cream, or that plastic boom, yeah, or water, or gelée, or whatever you can imagine. All that is possible, yeah. And also the structure from the surface you can influence with different parameters, yeah. If you see that here, for example, that's really funny to see. And something from that particle would be sticked on the wall, and other parts would be go down. Yeah, and that's really typical for that kind of fluids, that something is hold on the surface from, for example, that wall, and other not. Yeah, so if later that scenes and my little tutorials for that would be published on LightWave Digital on the channel, then you can play with that scene and play for yourself with a parameter nearly real time. You see it here. And combine also the parameter from fLOW himself, the simulation parameters, and also the filter if you bake it out and take a look what it does. Yeah, and after that process, if you have that LightWave object sequence in a folder, you can then also build over that your own shader in LightWave Native or with Octane, yeah, with Octane shader system, and can build in that way the craziest things. That's really a funny tool, and it's rock stable. So it have some bugs, you know that, yeah. So you cannot really save a fluid preset at time. So I tested, another user tell me that, and I can save that, but if you load it back in, then the parameter would not be written in here. So that's a little bug. I think that's then it's the programmer knows that now, and yeah, but that's the only thing what for me is a little bit curious. Also under the preferences, the maximal particle count, it's not really hold, yeah. So if you load the scene new, it's anytime on that parameter. So if here I give here another parameter, so for example 0 more, enter, and it's I saved now the scene. If I load it next time, that 0 is gone. So that's the little bugs in that first version from fLOW, but that's not really for me. That's not bugs that yeah, bring me in trouble if I would work with that tool. That's not the problem. It's easy to handle, yeah. So would say that fLOW CUDA based is really a nice tool. The only thing that every user must know is that if you make complex simulations, that flood the VRAM from your NVIDIA card, and better is more VRAM. Yeah, more VRAM is better for LightWave fLOW with this CUDA options, and the card with more CUDA cores as a card with lower CUDA cores and not so much VRAM. Yeah, but I think everybody knows it. Yeah. So, Rodney, have fun. If you have any questions, then tell me that. If I have an answer, I give you an answer. Yeah? Later at all. Have a nice time.